che insegna a Palermo architettura dei giardini e progettazione del paesaggio. È professore associato. Il suo intervento ha un titolo in italiano, Paesaggi e trasformazioni, scelte consapevoli, ma l'intervento è in English. Ok. E sono aperte le domande degli italiani perché lui parla benissimo italiano e inglese.
Italiano mi tocca. Okay, after the regular troubles that we have to set computers and screen projectors, thank you, Professor Olivia Longo, and all the community here to welcome me today. I think I will need someone who shakes them.
Yeah.
Not because we can change the settings, I'm sorry for this. I forgot it. Always we have troubles with this. Some passwords must be deleted. Look like this. Yes. Disattiva blocco schermo. Ok. Yes. Where we are? C'era un blocco schermo, lo schifo stanze. Okay, so once again, thank you for coming and to welcome me today. I'm sorry, I have to apologize a couple of things. First, my English is not my native language, so I will make a lot of mistakes. So I'm sorry for this. And then, because I got a horrible cold during last week, so my voice looks like the Donald Duck one. And this not really helps me to survive the presentations, but I will try anyway. Feel free to ask whatever you want after the presentations about what we are going to look. And I was asked by Professor Longo to talk about landscapes, and according to the ideas I have about this workshop at this summer school, I suppose kind of reflections about urban and public space can be interesting in terms of managing landscape and architecture. So I'll provide, no ways, I will manage it. I try to provide some ideas about some modern projects and some modern inventions manage the relationships between urban structures, landscape and nature along last 10 years almost. But first of all, I would like to thank you always my staff that's not here, that usually cooperate with me in research topics and contributions. So those are my guys, let me say this, that regularly provide help in managing our course in landscape architecture at University of Bologna. I would like to start with Ursula Park projects in Capri. Something that probably nowadays is not possible, because no public offices in Italy would validate a design that plays on the top of rocks along the sea coast, a villa like this. But I like the example because it's something about the continuous struggle between landscape and architecture, modern architecture especially. And I think it's a good piece of experience that we have to deal with. So this is just to introduce other concepts like Le Corbusier's ideas about the relationships between nature in architecture. One of the 5 points he drawn about modern architectures along the 30s in the last century. And stepping to Grosvenor Square in London, something about urban nature memories. When the city gets bigger year by year, society was developing new markets, new economies, and the need of nature was a big part of the modern city at the time. So landscape in urban spots is more a backbone or a decoration, because according some painters in the 17th and 18th centuries, landscape could be presented more as a decoration that's a part of the urban structure. But my idea is that urban landscape is always a kind of backbone for the development of the modern city, even through centuries. And is something about more elf belts or sanitary green, as Prefect Haussmann and Jean-Alphonse Alphand is the guy with the strange hat on the down right, made for Paris, because Paris, as you know, has been changed along the 19th century in a really hard way, opening new streets, new boulevards, and changing completely the urban landscape at the time, introducing more nature or more green according to the needs of the modern city at the time. Well, and what about the third millennium? Urban landscape in the third millennium is more about thermal situations, thermal problems, microclimate situations, managing microclimate needs, because as we know, the big areas, the big aggregations of houses, the big cities that we are experiencing today are providing troubles to the microclimates. So introducing green areas can help in manage thermal control. There's something that contemporary architects and engineers must deal with. And in those pictures you can understand how the thermal situations in the city can be immediately understood, and how the area, the stepping zones, and on the plan on the right can be described the phenomenon. Or more, in the third millennium, the rooftop nature appears, orchards, or other activities that are bringing again the nature, the orchards within the city. This is Manhattan. Well, this is Brooklyn, and this is an experience made on top of a school, where a company is providing fresh vegetables daily, supporting the food need in Brooklyn. It's on the website, Brooklyn Range. So city in this modern area are changing, and landscape itself in the urban area is absolutely changing, is shaping the cities. I will go through, I hope quickly, some examples, and I don't know if they can help our summer school students. And one of the leaders, the city leaders I've studied a long time in the past, is Barcelona in Spain. Barcelona experienced is a strange situation, because they had a very huge transformations with the Olympic Games in 1982. But the city in the last 10 years is still needing area, playgrounds, and special arrangements in terms of urban landscape. From the urban small scale of small places like this, we are actually the picture is showing the city center, where the continuous need of playgrounds is filled with a solution like this, opening courtyards behind the buildings to the regular public, obviously with a special solution that protect kids from the outside, and providing green and soft soils or place like this. But also bigger solutions like this one in Passé de Saint-Jean one of the probably biggest road in the example, the Serda addition of the new city, where Serda in the half of the 19th century was providing and designing road with a width of 50 meters. Actually, with the modern traffic, modern public transportation, those roads are not really useful. So the administration, the city administration, changed it into shorter, smaller one, providing new pavements and new side arrangements with greens, as you can see in the picture, trees, benches, and tools for the citizens that were claiming for. Barcelona actually counts almost 2 million inhabitants in the inner area and 3.5 million in the greater Barcelona, so it's a big number to be managed. Those solutions changed a little bit the landscape, improving the presence of new trees, helping drainage with technical solutions like leaving blocks, small blocks, stone blocks separate, and providing resting areas and places where people can be safely relaxing and just enjoying time. Even for kids, because if kids need to be safe and they are absolutely allowed to play close their home, they need safe place like this. So pieces of those pavements are changed into playground. I think this is very interesting because you can observe a conflict probably between the traffic and the regular use of the public area, but I think this is a very good option how to manage. And kids population must be always protected. When you think and you design some public space, kids are part of society. So they need some special attention and some protections from the outside dangers. Another shot that describes what's changing. Basically, the original pavement were ending here. Now everything, this green area has been added, completely changing the landscape of the urban track. I think it's very interesting because this is a very busy area, one of the commercial districts very close to the sea and in a very busy part of Barcelona. Even in Barcelona, where the city touches the mountains surrounding and the urban structure changed dramatically with the hills coming up, this is another small intervention made by the city hall, and they were able to find a room for some multi-level parkings underneath with a small garden on top connecting several levels, as you can see in this map. You can see the stairs and the escalators on the right. The shape is absolutely horrible because it's a triangle and you have different levels from the top to the lowest. And I think this is a simple project, but it solves a lot of problems in terms of urban structures, urban grid, even functions. Because find a way to have room for cars in a complex situation like this, I think it was a very good goal. Once again, you find kids' tools and playgrounds that's always present in Barcelona. I'm following the Barcelona experience since a long time, probably 10 or 15 years, so I observed the change they were able to make along this long time, and I think it's very interesting the way they are not stopping always and they're just filling all the gaps they found on the map, considering that the metropolitan area a very complex one. The stairs and the relationships between the different levels, the way they treat the nature, a gorgeous blossom obviously, of trees, more. And even the big facilities like this one, that basically is a bus station, or better a bus storage, is an opportunity and to manage once again landscape and make landscape part of the design. You can see down the buses with the big storage, and on top, on the roof, a full park that connects the present landscape and the foot of the hill with the rest of the area. In the map it's completely shown the way they treat, it's something funny, can be, but the design will show you later also some technical reasons, because they decide to have those circles as a major sign in the design. The smaller are obviously the trees. This is a sequence of the building process from the lowest level to top, as you can see down. And those are some shots of the rooftop. The interesting thing here is, yes, on one side, managing the relationship between the new human landscape, because this is absolutely artificial, but also some technical topics like water drainage and saving, because those kind of balls, almost flat, but they are absolutely balls, they can retain water coming from clouds and saving it on some tanks to refill again the cycle, so the water coming from the sky is used to irrigate again the park. So nothing is wasted in this project, and the only thing is just to think about how to manage the situation. Because it's obvious that to sustain this kind of weight you need big structures, big pillars, columns and beams and whatever, but if you think about it before, you can get the goal. Another shot. And another situation where urban landscape has been managed in public housing buildings along the Avenida Meridiana, one of the most important roads in Barcelona, outside in the peripherals of the metropolitan area, the center. This is the complex. It's a regular system of buildings for public housing. But the interesting thing is how to weigh the inner landscape between the houses, between the blocks, and providing a pedestrian area where, again, kids are allowed to play, safe area, enlightened area. So something that makes people, the feelings of inhabitants safe and nice, in my opinion. This is an aerial view that shows up the situation after the work. Can you see here the green areas and all the connections that make a nice design in terms of public space? Some details. Again, kids are actors of the public space, so the soils are treated with soft grounds according to safety rules. And this is a spot with the boundaries on the east side. More moss, flowers, something that makes the place, I think, more interesting and nice to be in. But in Barcelona, a lot of troubles are also with the big road system, because the city is cut by the diagonal, and in west-east direction also by the Gran Via. That means a lot of traffic, a lot of cuttings, not so many bridges to connect the up and down neighbors. And this is a picture of the 60s, if I remember well, that is showing the situation before. It's a kind of urban highway that cuts the city in two. And in Barcelona, the situation like this is repeated 2 or 3 times, because now they're experiencing the same problem with the big ronda that surrounds the city. So, according to the city of ideas, the need is to reconnect north and south with bridges and preserve and protect houses and citizens by the noise coming from this kind of urban highway. So in the sketch you will understand the idea how to be reconnect, adding bridges and pedestrians walkways. And this is the final result, changing completely the edges and the shape of the road along the outer pavements. Parking is not allowed, so it's a kind of linear park that goes along the main highway. The highway is partially covered by screens that protects the other houses from the noise coming from inside. New walkways, as I told you before. New bike lanes on the edges, and obviously green and trees to make it nice from an inner point of view. And on the edges. Obviously every single spot can be a place for a fountain, a piece of urban landscape, or benches, or whatever. Now, hopefully we have some Dutch students. I discovered the studio of Marco Vermeulen a while ago, and I'm really interested in the way Netherlands is treating a lot of spots, considering all the problems they can have with tidal management and the water, because it's a country based on grid relations in between land and water. This is I found this project very interesting about landscape management, but not only landscape management. This is the area is on the southeast of Rotterdam. The city is Werkendam, is it right? Some Dutch knows the place? Okay. And basically, Vermeulen starts on the renovation of an existing museum made by a system of hexagons with no relations with the outside. So the idea was, and the museum was suffering problems because the big increasing of visitors. So in 2012, before the renovations, museum had 30,000 visitors per year, and now in 2016, all better. In 2015, after the reopening, they are experiencing 35,000 in 3 months. That means 4 times the number. So the idea in the design was to treat the existing museum without huge demolitions, to don't waste money and keeping resource, and changing the shape, not the inner shape, but adding a new site on the south, and shaping the existing museum with a kind of land art solution. Let's go through some details. This is an exometry where you can find an island in between a river, where the museum has the main role, and there is also provided, now opened, a tidal park outside, where you can experience completely the tidal system, where the water comes high and then comes low, and so there is also a model outside. In half an hour you can have the full cycle. So it's open since last July, so it's really new. And I found absolutely interesting in terms of landscape management the way the existing building was treated, adding those new parts on the south, and especially covering the rooftop with green and herbs. So you can visit it. Those renderings probably describes solutions better than my explanation. Obviously, I think we never seen sheep or animals going around, but can be, can be. And this is a rendering of the tidal park outside the museum. The museum provides information on the region, on the Biesbosch region, the Biesbosch Natural Park, about the local community, but also describes the system, how the water is managed in the Netherlands. And you can make the experience. In this aerial view, this is got on the website, museum website, and the park is not defined, it's not complete, how the museum appears with this kind of landscape treatment. And it's very interesting because they provided a new system of windows on the south, The glass is thermal control glass, and they use a lot of biological systems to provide hot heat in the cold days, and even cold during summer or when it's hot. And the pipelines that goes under the floor can be used with hot water or fresh water coming from the river. So in a very sustainable way, I think. Outside view of the out space. And this is the museum completely renewed, and you can jump on it and walk on the pedestrian walkways on top. And I think it is very interesting the way you can discover landscape and be part of it. More pictures. And I think the last works by Vermeulen Studio are very concerned about the relationship between architecture and landscape in a very deep way. And this is a picture about the opening in July. This is a test made by some kids of the primary school. 5 classrooms who were caught and launched into the tidal park to experience water coming up and down. And running to the end of this long presentation, a couple of examples. This one designed by Denmark for Big in Taiwan. This is another test because a Taiwan company decided to provide a new settlement with new building. Probably you know it. It's going to be built supposedly in 2016 to be finished in 2018. And the idea is to provide new houses. This is a single house. I think the rich people will live there. And the design is based on the landscape of Taiwan landscape, trying to represent again the mountain spine of the outer landscape. But it's not a problem of shape, but in the project a lot of things are involved, like thermal control, the way the exposure for thermal reasons has been designed. So the idea is to go with the sun that comes on top of the houses, leaving windows on the other sides. So a special glass will help in protecting and managing the thermal control for the units, and the green roof are part of the design. So every single house is thought to be completely different from others. So the representation of those kind of landscape, of mountain landscape, is totally different from one house to the other. This is the idea, how to organize the sun orientation to find the best way in controlling thermal problems, and the vegetation, how the vegetation can help in this. Well, some renderings, obviously, in future, absolutely, as a kind of future ideas. And well, in the whole budget, they provide also Danish furnitures and design details. This is the reason why I consider the full system something that you can pay with a lot of money. But they built a test house just to show the future owners how the house can work. I think the details are interesting, and the entire idea is amazing. The Leone face, this can be called sustainable, but is so-called sustainable. And every single house has a surface of around 1,000 square meters. Not bad. To close my presentation, something about verticals, and something that you probably know very well. And the way green surfaces are used to treat vertical situations like this. This is example one. in the south of France. Railway comes on top of this bridge and cuts the city in two. So they called Patrick Blanc to give a new face to this bridge, and using the green system as a coverage to manage the urban landscape. This is one of the first things published by Patrick Blanc, the foolish landscaper, as we say. And according season, obviously the landscape changes almost every 3 months with several plants that changed, and there is some maintenance to be considered along the year, but I've been in Aix-en-Provence last year and it's still working perfectly. And for the end, le Musée de Kervenly by Jean Nouvel, where the ground landscape was designed by Gilles Clément, and the other facade on the river, once again by Patrick Blanc. This project was has a strange history because they had to finish it in a rush and was not completely built when they opened it, but was not so easy because of the shape of the soil of the block, and because it's on the river and there is also a big traffic going up and down along the River Seine, and basically the building itself has two different ways to approach as facades, both roads. The main one is on the left and the other that is not shown in this picture. And probably has been one of the most published vertical green solutions in the last years, considering that it's Paris and very close to the Tour Eiffel and all the monuments surrounding the area. It's something that you must think about, but must be very well designed and managed, because can be a disaster if you don't manage it in the right way. Providing water, providing support in plan choosing. So it's easy to say, okay, we put some green on vertical, but think about, because management is very important. It's life, so it's not so easy to insert in architecture. And to complete my presentation, the idea is landscape awareness is something modern, so we are discovering those kind of awareness right now. Well, in my opinion, the answer is no, because this is an Norwegian house in the country and it comes from the Middle Age, and this is still there, and with a nice green rooftop is completely protected by the outside weather. So, thank you.
Any question?
Please, feel free. I'm sorry for the Dutch pronunciation of the Biesbosch.
That's quite good.
That's good? Okay, that's good. So feel free in Italian, in English, and in Spanish. That's all. That's all I got.
No? Any? Italia, domande in italiano.
Non c'è problema, io sono pronto a tutto. Anche l'acting fa effetto.
Ma io penso che la particolarità di questo intervento era sul rapporto natura-artificio e sul fatto che la natura è un artificio. Ad opera dell'uomo è sempre un artificio, per cui in qualsiasi modo la usiamo è assolutamente costruita dall'uomo. Poi come la trattiamo, ma già con l'intervento di Ines è stato molto... come assecondiamo questa natura è tutta la difficoltà del progetto, perché poi la natura c'è anche sui materiali che noi consideriamo statici, morti, quelli minerali. In realtà il coltan è un esempio lampante, abbastanza ovvio. Anche i minerali si alterano, si modificano, e in questo si riconduce al tema del tempo, the time in the architecture, che Nunes ha esplicitato molto bene. Ha una domanda greca.
No, io volevo fare solo una considerazione.
Sì.
Sicuramente sono degli interventi stupendi e bellissimi, cioè a me piacciono molto, voglio dire, quindi indipendentemente che siano belle, la bellezza è soggettiva, a me piacciono molto. Purtroppo che noi qui non ce li fanno fare, perché noi qua ci fanno fare la casettina col suo tetto, con le finestrine quadrate o al massimo rettangolare, l'una sull'altra, essendo soggetti a beni ambientali, secondo me bisognerebbe che i beni ambientali svecchiassero un attimino anche riguardo al risparmio energetico. C'è la legge che dice che i pannelli, che le case devono avere autonomia per quanto riguarda l'energia, ma l'autonomia dico la iniziano con la posa di pannelli solari, fotovoltaici o quantomeno anche con i tetti inerbiti.
Sono assolutamente d'accordo e sull'argomento purtroppo si potrebbero fare settimane di congresso, non ne usciremmo.
No, non usciremo neanche vivi.
E anche, per esempio, io trovo assolutamente falsa l'affermazione per cui se uno fa un tetto fotovoltaico, il fatto che sia energeticamente compatibile significhi anche che sia paesaggisticamente compatibile. Non lo è.
Non lo è.
Ho vissuto personalmente l'esperienza di campi fotovoltaici che hanno devastato valli.
No, non lo è sicuramente.
E questo però richiede diciamo, come dire, un certo numero di soggetti che si seggano attorno a un tavolo e si mettano d'accordo definitivamente. Allora, intanto c'è da dire una cosa, l'Italia non è una, perché già la Sicilia, da cui provengo per formazione e residenza, non è una, perché 18 piani paesaggistici non fanno un unico piano regionale. Ma a parte questo c'è un problema generale di mancanza di unità, perché la delega alle regioni su queste materie provoca che in Val d'Aosta una cosa si faccia e in Calabria no, e questo vale per tutto, dal paracarro al grattacielo. Questo è il primo problema. Secondo, è vero, purtroppo ci vorrebbe uno svecchiamento. Adesso io non conosco la situazione locale, magari la sovrintendenza sarà attenta, però ci vorrebbe una sorta di convergenza di intenti e di come dire, miglioramento di alcune soluzioni. Non tutto quello che è moderno ha funzionato o funziona, è bello, però inseguire il falso antico perché è paesaggisticamente presuntamente compatibile.
Io non sono sul moderno in assoluto. Cioè, voglio dire, sono...
No, ma si può fare qualcosa di moderno senza che sia assolutamente...
A me piace molto il trasparente, a me. Io farei tutte le finestre, farei il tetto
Salvo
anche.
voi dovete però riscaldare o raffreddare.
Vabbè,
in occhio perché diciamo,
la soluzione
c'è
la
certo, tutto si può.
soluzione c'è.
Cioè,
io ambisco ad avere un tetto in vetro, ma veramente, guardi, veramente.
Tutto si può fare, basta.
Insomma.
For the English speakers, we are discussing about how to manage with landscape plans modern architecture in ancient context. This is a big debate, never solved along the last 150 years. One of the big topics in the past was the demolition after the earthquake of the bell tower in Venice, San Marco, because a side of the architects involved in that in the 1902 said we can have a modern one, and the population said no, we wanted the old one in the same shape, size, details, and architecture. So it's just a joke to describe how difficult it is to manage ancient context, modern architecture the right way, with also environmental awareness and solution and techniques. So,
Sorry, can I ask you a question about the...
please.
So what do you think is the problem with Italian landscape? Why, compared to like what they're doing in Paris and Holland?
We have several layers. First layer is tradition and right. I mean, civil rights and the way civil right has been father of plans and providing designs. Because you can consider an urban landscape plan part of the civil right. So it's the detailed civil right applied to a portion of landscape or territory or land or whatever. And this is one layer. The other layer is the huge patrimony we must manage. That probably is in terms of historical architecture and monuments, probably the biggest in the world. That makes everything a little bit much more complicated than other nations. Comparing with the French experience, to build the new Carré d'Art in Nîmes, right in front of the Roman temple, they decided to demolish a 19th century theater in a week. Something that probably in Italy can happen. So, it's a completely different behavior, and the way of the Italian community involved in restoration and architecture management or whatever is approaching the topic. And moreover, the problem I was talking with a lady before, that we are not a unique nation, because after several changes in the law, now every single region has an ability to provide its own laws. So landscape management in Sicily can be different than in Lombardia or in the Northeast. And that means that also solutions and the way you show your land is completely different, or can be completely different. There is a lack of connections. So the general principles are the same because they stay in the constitutions, in the Republic constitutions. But once you say, we protect the nation, and you build a bridge on top of a valley, are you protecting the landscape or not? In which way? Which scale of details? Is right or is wrong? So it's difficult to have a unique answer to those kind of questions. It's something we are dealing with along the last 150 years. Not solved yet. And never, I think. Anything else? Thank you for listening and for suffering with me and my cold and my Donald Duck voice today. Thanks a lot.
Adesso tocca agli studenti. The student. Your work. Where is your work, your project? Tomorrow afternoon. Okay. Tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon to present, to explain, to everything of your ideas. Okay. We are waiting for your ideas. Okay. Good work. Arrivederci, poi ci vedremo qui verrà il 19. Il 19 settembre è il primissimo giorno della Summer School.